Hello. As you know, I'm 7Song, and right now we're at the Rainbow Gathering doing first aid. So at the medical station, it's sometimes called CALM. And what I'm going to be doing, and John's going to be filming for the next couple of days, is showing you around first aid in real life at a rainbow gathering. And at the rainbow gathering, we have a mixture of different injuries and infectious diseases. There's a lot of considerations when treating people. But one of the things we also have to do is protect ourselves, wear gloves, watch out for respiratory viruses. As this camera is going to swing around, you're going to start to see it's just a kind of madness here. But it is one of the most outstanding places to learn first aid. I've been coming here for about 30 years, doing first aid for about 20 years, and the amount of stuff that I've learned all this time with all these people has been really pretty phenomenal. So what I want to do is swing over here. I'm going to show you some of the medicines. So over here we have the boxes of different medicines that I bring. A lot of the stuff I bring, some stuff other people bring. So we have alternative-ish medicines, as an herbalist, lots of tinctures and teas and plants. But we also have all the straight conventional stuff. We have Epsom salts and bandages and respiratory masks. There's an EpiPen somewhere. So basically, we're covering the panoply of different first aid situations you might see here. We also have to deal with chronic disorders at times. We have some radio communications if we have to bring folks out. So once again, let's just start filming this area right here. This is, of course, we brought this from Macy's for $400, this homemade looking workstation. And of course, we built it in the past 2 days. Okay, so we have these are the tinctures. Most of these blue boxes and all the back stock are things that I bring. We fill up the bottles, and this to give out, and at the end, so then tomorrow morning we'll refill everything. So there's a back stock that's hidden because stuff gets ripped off here on a regular basis. We have lots of students here. This is Greg right over here, and then over here we have more of your first aid-y kind of stuff, cotton balls and respiratory masks. There's notebooks for people to take notes. We have other tinctures around here. Back over in here, we have two foot stations here. One's for infectious wounds to wash out, and one of them is for non-infectious wounds. So back here in the shade for infectious wounds, we just have this pit dug. So it's just clear. People sit on this log, put their feet on here, and then that way some of the infectious waste goes down. There's our consideration, like as John shows you more around this place, our consideration is just a lot of people. There's probably, I guess, 5,000 to 7,000 people gathered in a couple hundred acres in the woods, and any kind of infectious disease can get spread really fast. Over the past, and you hear my voice is raised, partly because I'm talking to a camera, but partly because I've been teaching and working here, and it's just loud. It is a lot. We set up the medical station in the center. So this is one of the loudest places because we want to be accessible for anybody who gets injured, to people to come back and take their medicines again. So what we have to do is we have to figure out how to limit disease spread here, which always will happen. I mean, a couple people come in with staph infections, and staph is going to spread fast. So how do we limit it? How do we educate people? How do we treat it? How can we treat it here? If not here, where's local hospitals? So it's much more than just coming in and treating boo-boos. Like we can have here, like people have broken their ankles and come here. There's been heart attacks that have happened here just a few days ago. And of course, those are way out of our league, and those people are going to go to local hospitals. So it's kind of a crazy, how to put this? There's just lots of people here, all with problems that they'll acquire here, like infectious diseases potentially, and hurts and sprains. And then with all these thousands of people, many of the folks come here with problems that they have already had, and then they have chronic exacerbations. They forget their medicines. Let's say they're diabetic and they have diarrhea, and all of a sudden their diabetes medicines aren't staying in their body long. Their blood sugar changes as the electrolyte changes, and so it becomes basically often an easy situation to rectify. It becomes much more difficult here in the woods when we don't have easy access to drugs. At our first aid station, no drugs. We just don't do any prescription drugs. There are some people who do it, but they're licensed. We keep us pretty legal here as far as what we give people, medicines we feel comfortable with. My job is often kind of a strategist, diagnostician, clinician, and I have 18 students. My school has to come here, and so I have 18 students treating people, and I have to make sure that they treat people right and that they personally stay pretty healthy. So reasonably healthy amongst the chaos. Just another thing, it's beautiful here, where if these trees are right around here, lots of old growth, lots of firs and spruces and some pines and some hemlock, and these trees are all, some of them are hundreds of years old, and so it's just beautiful to be camped here. It's a very handsome place to be. So it's pretty amazing. Like over the past 20 years of working here, I've learned just a lot of stuff about treating people, and a lot of that stuff is interpersonal stuff, counseling skills. Just when people come in with first aid health problems, there's the problem, right? There's the diarrhea, there's the headaches, there's the bites, but it's just a human being who's been altered in some sense. Their mental or physical homeostasis has to be helped. So one of the reasons I'm saying this is this course on first aid, most of you, I'm expecting, are not going to be a practitioner out in a mass of 7,000 people doing first aid. But a lot of the skills that I've acquired working here over the many years that I've been here are definitely useful, they're acquirable. So if you're watching this now and you're thinking, this first aid course just makes no sense for me, I'm never going to do this. This is just kind of an intro for it, but the goal of this is to show you that first aid works in this huge milieu of people, and then a lot of the smaller things, the things that you'll see, bites or cuts or scratches or bee stings, colds and flus, are also going to be part, like more of the household stuff. But John is here at my bequest, because I wanted him to see, like, we could talk about all that. I also just do first aid at home and treat my community and people I know, but this is first aid in a much wider angle, and I just want people to get a sense of this. And then definitely when I'll be covering stuff, it'll be stuff that lots of people can use, lots of plants that are used. Also, as far as like the herbal medicines, most of it is pretty much, there's not a lot of very different plants that I use here. I just use them differently in different situations, but a lot of the same medicines are used here as in regular just your home first aid.
So my name is Corey Pine Shame from the Blue Ridge School of Herbal Medicine in Asheville, North Carolina. And I come and do first aid at the Rainbow gatherings for a number of reasons. For one thing, it's a great learning experience for me, and it's also a great service I can do to the community. I've been coming to the gatherings for about 20 years and learning so much here. It's kind of my way of giving back, my way of like being of service. At the same time, I get great stories. I used to require my students to come here. There were 2 years where I required my students to come to the gathering, and everybody who came said it was a great learning experience. They learned a lot, and they were like, did a lot of good work, being of service. I don't do it anymore, but this year, 2 students of mine came here to help out at Calm. Every year, because I talk about it a lot during class, and they hear my stories from the gathering, because I use a lot of them as teaching stories during class. A lot of them get inspired to come, hang out at Calm at the medicine tent and help out, heal people with plants. Herbs are like surprisingly effective. It's like I'm also trained as a wilderness first responder, and sometimes you just need to like slap a bandage on there. You just need to like go for like the western route, splint it, bandage it, charcoal it. But I've just found like a number of herbs that are really effective for pain, for digestive issues, for tooth abscesses, help a lot of things that you wouldn't ordinarily think that herbs would be good for. And then working at a first aid clinic like Calm, you get to treat like a lot more acute conditions. Whereas working in a clinic in town, you tend to work more with chronic issues. The skills folks learn here can be used first aid in the house, in the kitchen. A great example of it actually was after Hurricane Katrina, a lot of Rainbow folks went down to help out. And they were used to working in chaotic, non-sterile conditions with disorganized, with no hierarchy. Let me say no hierarchy over disorganization. There's a little bit of both, really. And they're able to kind of like survive and provide like a lot of help that way. but just being able to, because first aid situations are often chaotic. You know, even when it's not like in the semi-controlled nature of the rainbow gathering and calm, coming upon a first aid situation just in the outside world, people are in shock, people are startled, people don't know what to do next. So being able to kind of like come into that situation and work with the plants that you have, which might not be the plants that might not be the plants or medicines that you number one want, but the plants that you have on hand, is a real skill. See, a person came to us this morning with bronchitis, coughing up green phlegm, so that meant that it was probably infectious. Probably some kind of infection going on. And the primary herb we used for them was elecampane, a little bit of wild cherry as well. Wild cherry to like relax the chest a little bit, so they could, the coughing wasn't quite as intense and not as full of tension as well. And the elecampane to kind of dredge the phlegm out of the lungs, bring it up and out. But elecampane also works well as an antibacterial to kill the microbes that are really like causing the infection. But a lot of times when working with something like bronchitis, it's not just about killing the bacteria, but also kind of changing the underlying condition. So by getting rid of that excess mucus, you can, it takes away the home that the bacteria need. Excess mucus provide a home for the bacteria, so elecampane helps people kind of cough up and clear that mucus up and out.
Well, what do you get out of coming here to the Rainbow Gathering to learn about herbs?
What do I get?
Yeah, tell us about it.
I get a really nice opportunity to work with a really diverse group of people and in a really diverse set of medical situations where there's a lot of variety of what goes on. There's staph and there's respiratory things, and we have to think really fast on our feet, so it helps me to go over what I know and practice what I know and learn more and see a really wide variety of things in a very short amount of time, and pretty much constantly. There's just people coming in constantly all day, and I think it's a really good learning opportunity for anybody that wants to learn first aid. Come here and volunteer. You get to see just people constantly. For the most part, I've seen most people get better, which is one of the coolest things about this. A lot of times, like outside of this with herbalists, you work with chronic conditions and you don't get to see, instant results. But here, a lot of times you can see things work, immediately, or at least in the next hour or the next day. And so there's definitely this sense of finding what works, and there's also a great chance for experimentation, which is really important, I think. There's been, I think, for the most part, everybody I've seen has been getting better, some quicker than others, but pretty much it's all going towards getting healthier, so it's really nice.
So, what we're going to do now is John's going to go around and we're going to film and talk about some of the things that we commonly see in here. A couple of things that you might get on film here would be some dog bites that we've seen. There's, I don't know how many, there's got to be 600 dogs here, many of them unleashed, a reason to come and not go to a rainbow gathering. Not that many dog bites, but they happen. A lot of sprained ankles, so we'll be looking at showing you wrapping some of those. A lot of people that have respiratory stuffiness, I doubt it's all viral, but it's very smoky because it's been cold at night and people are burning these conifers for heat, so they have to get in close. Conifers burn cold, they don't have a hot flame, and you have to move in close, and so you breathe in a lot of the smoke, and a lot of the trees are wet. So we're going to talk about respiratory congestion from basically breathing in smoke, but also there are viruses going around, Norwalk type viruses, stomach flus. We'll look through some of those, and just cuts and bangs and all those kinds of injuries that are pretty much in every first aid situation.